Access to Democracy is made possible by donations from the following organizations. Thomson Reuters, a global company with expertise and insight to unravel complex situations in the areas of law, tax, compliance, government, and media. Their worldwide network of journalists and editors keep customers up to speed on relevant global events. Thomson Reuters, The Answer Company. The division championship Minnesota Twins are looking to go all the way to the World Series in 2024. Bolstered by inspirational shortstop Carlos Correa, a healthy Brian Buxton, and rookie phenom Royce Lewis, plus a pitching staff led by Pablo Lopez and an outstanding bullpen featuring Johan Duran, the Twins are the best bargain in the major leagues, and Target Field is the best venue in baseball. Sheridan Dulas & Kins, PA, a family and criminal defense law firm, has been serving clients in Dakota County and throughout Minnesota for over 40 years. Ranked a Tier 1 Best Law Firm by U.S. News and World Report every year since 2009, Sheridan Dulas & Kins are here to help you in your most difficult life circumstances. Established in 2007, 45th Parallel Spirits was among the first 50 micro-distilleries in the United States. Based in New Richmond, Wisconsin, all aspects of production occur at our facility. If you're interested in visiting and learning more about the 45th Parallel Distillery, please check our website and plan a visit to tour our facility and taste our spirits. Truestone Financial, with locations in Minnesota and Wisconsin, has proudly served its members since 1939. Truestone engages, educates, and supports its members to ensure they have the tools to empower their financial well-being. Truestone Financial, your neighborhood credit union. Learn more at truestone.org.
Welcome to Access to Democracy. This is our first show from our gorgeous Target Field. Well, not quite, but Alan Miller with you, and probably a two-generation or two-decade guest, Dave St. Peter, president of the Minnesota Twins. And bringing him here today to our new beautiful studios at Egan High School is going to guarantee us a win tonight against Detroit with Joe Ryan pitching, and you can see they're out on the field now getting ready for the game. Welcome, welcome, welcome.
Alan, it's great to be here. I always look forward to seeing you and your lovely bride and being part of Access to Democracy now for maybe the last 20 plus years has been a joy, and always excited to talk Twins baseball.
And we've had some really exciting times during that 20 years.
Yeah, I mean, like anything, there's ebbs and flows to it, and different things that have happened over the course of time. But you know, the constant is baseball bringing community together, talking about some things that are new with our team or with the ballpark, and that's always exciting to be able to do that.
Well, there are things new with the ballpark, not the least of which is a new scoreboard this year.
Yeah, we've worked hard over time to invest in Target Field. It's amazing. It's our 15th season at Target Field.
It's hard for me to believe.
And the ballpark itself looks great. I take great pride in the cleanliness. I take great pride in the fact that it continues to be fresh and new looking. You just mentioned video boards. They're all brand new. We've spent a lot of time thinking about other different seating neighborhoods. We added a pontoon boat in the right field area
which is incredible.
That's very seamlessly integrated into the seating. And we've got big plans for the future. You know, our fan base continues to provide feedback, things they love, things they'd like to see more of, things they'd like to see less of. And we're working hard to try to accommodate
Not
that.
only feedback, but food back.
Well, the food and beverage.
Lord knows,
Yeah.
there is no stadium that compares with the variety of food that's offered at Target Field.
Well, I appreciate you saying that. We work hard on it. You know, Delaware North Sports Service is our concessionaire, and when we moved from the Metrodome to Target Field in 2010, we put a stake in the ground and said, hey, let's create the best food and beverage experience in any stadium and anywhere in the Midwest. And I'm hoping now we can say that, maybe taking it across the nation.
I think we can.
We spend a lot of time on it. There's a lot of local and or regional brands that are part of our menu. There's ongoing conversations about what could come next. But yeah, people love to come to ball games. They love to eat. They love to test the different foods, and that's always been a big part of our experience.
I mean, as a kid growing up, going to Yankee Stadium, it was a hot dog.
Yeah.
And of course, I was too young for a beer in those days, but it was a hot dog and a Coke. You have such a variety there that it's a gourmet delight.
And make no mistake, we sell more hot dogs and Cokes, or Pepsis and beers than we do anything else. But some fans want a little more variety than that. So whether it be the Red Cow burgers or Kmarchik's bratwursts or sausages, hot Indian foods, Pizza Luce pizza, along with dozens of other brands, you can find it at Target Field.
My mouth is watering. Now, it was a strange off-season. We won a division title last year, and then you were confronted with losing a television, company that broadcasts the show. They went into bankruptcy. I know that caused a lot of havoc.
Yeah, I mean, it was an interesting offseason. I'd go back first and foremost to last season. The second half of last year, our team really found its rhythm. We did win our third division title in the last 5 years, and ultimately went into the postseason and was able to exercise the curse of an 18-game postseason losing streak, which was significant for our franchise, but more importantly, significant for our fans. Then winning that series against Toronto, first series win in 20 years, and ultimately competing as we did against Houston. I think that was a really rewarding step for the franchise. We come into this offseason, we're confronted with uncertainty around the local media situation. Diamond Sports, which owns Bally Sports, is in bankruptcy. A lot of uncertainty on where the games are going to be found, a lot of uncertainty around what the economics are going to look like around that.
We're talking about millions of dollars.
Yeah, so all that led to, I think an unsettling offseason in many ways. We're not the only team that experienced it. I think we're going to see this continue to play out over the next several years. I don't think it's a one and done, so to speak. But I think at the end of the day, we did return a team that is very capable of challenging for a fourth AL Central title in the last 6 years. We've got off to a sluggish start offensively, but I'm optimistic that will turn, hopefully starting tonight.
It will, starting tonight. I'm telling you, Joe Ryan is going to go 6-7 innings tonight, and he's going to blow them away.
Yeah, Joe Ryan's been great. He's been one of the better pitchers in the American League early on, and when you put him at the top of the rotation with Pablo Lopez, we saw what he could do last year, along with Bailey Ober. I feel pretty good about the top of our rotation. We're going to need some other guys to step up, and we're going to need depth beyond just the five.
Yeah, one of the criticisms was there was a $30 million gap in payroll from last year to this year. Why didn't we go out and pick up a couple of the good free agent pitchers, which we didn't do? We went and got pitchers really.
Yeah, I mean, there's always going to be a debate. As long as I've worked at the Twins, there's been a debate about our payroll, and I can appreciate and respect that. And I think everybody wishes you'd have an unlimited payroll. We believe in the group that's here. We believe we can win with the group that's here. Derek Falvey, our president of baseball operations, has high confidence in Chris Paddock, in Louis Varland, in Simeon Woods Richardson. So, at the end of the day, you disseminate your payroll, you form your team. We were the preeminent favorites to win the division from all of the experts coming into the season.
Absolutely.
So they know what they're talking about as well. Now, we have to get it done on the field. I think we've underperformed a bit early on.
We've
had some injuries.
An uncommon, really, run of injuries.
Yeah, we've had some injuries.
To key players.
Yeah.
And, you have a player who comes out of nowhere last year, steps up, hits a home run in his first time
Royce
at bat
Lewis.
here. Royce
I don't know
Lewis.
that he came out of nowhere. He was the number one pick overall in the draft. But Royce Lewis is a special player, and he's unfortunately had a history of getting hurt. He's also had a history of delivering in the biggest moments when he's on the field. We need to get him back. He's a superstar waiting to happen.
Correa, who there's nobody better at shortstop than Correa. He's got an arm like a cannon. And again, he's hurt. We have so many people hurt.
Max Kepler's been out. Yoran Duran has been out. So yeah, but injuries are part of it, Alan. For every team, we have to find ways to overcome those injuries. And we had injuries a year ago. At the end of the day, we got healthy at the right time, and then we went on a nice run, and ultimately was able to compete for a championship in October. That remains the goal, and I'm confident that that's where we'll be when it matters.
Now, one of the big things in the off season was Joe Mauer going to the Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
That certainly is big. I mean, St. Paul has put 4 players in the Hall of Fame. There's only one other city in the country that has done that. But we've had Mauer, Molitor, Winfield, and Jack Morris all go into the Hall of Fame. Again, that's really something great for the local community.
Yeah, it's really special. That community that has more is Mobile, Alabama. But for St. Paul, for the Twin Cities, for the state of Minnesota, and for the Minnesota Twins organization and our fans, Joe Mauer getting the call to go to Cooperstown is a big deal. We're incredibly excited. He'll be inducted in Cooperstown on July 21. We'll have a pretty good throng of Twins people there and Minnesota baseball fans there in Cooperstown. And then Joe will return to Minnesota, and on Saturday, August 3rd, we'll recognize Joe at Target Field. His plaque from Cooperstown will be on display, and that'll be a special night as well.
Now, Joe wrote the foreword to Joe Schmidt's of KSTP's book.
Yes, he did.
And Joe Schmidt will be here July 31. We're doing a shoot with him about his book. I hope that Joe Mauer will be with him. I don't know if Joe will or not, but maybe you can put in a good word for us.
I'll work on that with Joe and
Okay.
Joe.
Because that would be great to have them both here with the book.
And it's a wonderful book. Joe Schmidt is obviously such a icon in his own right in this town, and his vision for this book and kind of detailing a book oriented towards kids and using Joe Mauer as the central character in it. The timing of it could not be better with Joe Mauer going into the National Baseball Hall of Fame, and Joe's story is one that I think resonates with every kid in terms of the way to treat people the right way.
And what
work
a
hard.
role model he is for kids. I mean, here's a guy he is the natural. He is the All-American boy.
Yeah, and just tremendous values. His parents did a wonderful job of raising Joe and his brothers, and just how he goes about, the way he treats everybody, the way he gives back, the way he ultimately respects everybody around him. It's something we all can emulate, and as I've said to Joe many times, there has never been a day that we haven't been enormously proud to have Joe Mauer be a Minnesota Twin.
Now, what do you think of the 15-second clock for pitchers?
It's
in its second year.
Yeah, I think the pitch clock is great. There were some minor tweaks made one year over the next. I think they're fine.
Certainly has speeded up the game.
Yeah, and I think that's a benefit. I think that's certainly what a new generation of baseball fans wants and expects. I think it's resulted in a better game aesthetically, less standing around, and I think we're going to see more changes in the future.
Now I have more rings around my trunk than a Sequoia, so I go back to the days when you had a Casey Stengel or managers of that ilk. Today, we have managers with algorithms and everything is on paper and all, and I still haven't adjusted to that. I wonder, is it better to have all these statistics and at your fingertips, or is it your gut that really should be driving you?
Yeah, I appreciate the question, Alan. I view that all those statistics and all that data is just information. It's just information. I don't know that it's good or bad. I just think it's additional information that, had they had it back in the era when Casey Stengel managed, I think he would have had interest in it. We have the information now, so it's our job to give that information to our manager, to our coaches, to our players. I can assure you, Rocco Baldelli has the full control to manage the game, set the lineup, make decisions on who's going to pinch hit or how we're going to go to the bullpen. There are times when gut feel is part of that. His eye test is part of that. So I think there's a perception that that it's very robotic and that it's all pre-scripted, and I don't know that that's always the case.
Well, being as old as I am, it's hard to get away from old ways. And it's just not used to really algorithms and statistics and everything down on paper and making choices that way. There's more of, as you say, a gut feeling. And you wonder about that.
Yeah. Well, I think with it, like anything else, I think what we're really aspiring for is balance. There's a balance between the art and the science of baseball. And, the art is that gut feeling. It's that eye test. It's that experience that Rocco Baldelli has, and knowing his players, believing in his players, understanding, putting them in positions where they can be successful. But then the science is all the data that backs up some of those decisions. So I think the idea is to find your way somewhere in the middle so you can balance those two things.
See, I remember also Przinsky or Minkiewicz and the spirit that they brought to the team. Is there that much spirit now? Is there that much energy now?
Yeah. Again, every year is a little different. Every team's a little different. But again, I think this team has a lot of that. It comes from a lot of different places. One of those key guys is Royce Lewis. He brings that energy every day. It's harder for him to do that when he's hurt. The good news is Byron Buxton's healthy, playing every day. He brings energy, and he's on the diamond. But and then the young guys, Eddie Julian would certainly come to mind. Jose Miranda's back with our club. He certainly can bring it.
And he's hitting much better than he did toward the end of last year.
Yeah, he's healthy. He's healthy, Alan, and that's a huge difference for all of our players. When they're healthy, they have a tendency to perform at a better level.
What do you see down the road in terms of pitching? We've had our injuries. Duran certainly, as our closer, has been hurt. We've gotten some good mileage out of a couple of other pitchers. And although yesterday somebody got hit, but still.
I'm optimistic about our pitching. Anytime Pablo Lopez at the top of the rotation, and when you mentioned Joe Ryan, Bailey Ober, I really think Louis Varland is going to continue to learn and get better over time. I think Chris Paddock, the same thing, coming off of Tommy John now. But I think our bullpen will be probably the strength of our club. We've been hampered there by injuries. You mentioned Duran, he'll be back. Topa will be back, who's a guy we got in the Polanco trade from Seattle. And now Caleb Thielbar's back. So along with Griffin Jacks and Stewart, I feel really, really good about where our pitching depth is.
Well, time will tell. We're only, 1/10 into the season, 17 games, so we have a long way to go. And last season, it wasn't until the All-Star game that the team suddenly turned around and went from the depths to the apex.
Yeah, I mean, we had a sluggish first half last year. I think this year our division's probably a little bit better, and we've gotten off to a slower start, so our margin for error is a little bit more thin, but I'm confident we will kick it into gear. This team is too good for it not to, and I think it'll be a fun summer, and I expect a multi-team pennant race in September for an opportunity to win the division, and I think we'll be in the mix for that.
Well, we have been so pleased that as of last year, the Twins became one of our sponsors. It's not easy in a nonprofit such as we are that's all fielded by volunteers, and we still have expenses. And our expenses include our webmaster and cups like we have on the table here and things like that. So we thought that it was a big step up for us to get the Twins as a sponsor last year. And not only that, knowing our our programs go out to 35 cities here in Minnesota, it was beneficial for both of us, and it has been, and we appreciate that.
Yeah, well, we appreciate what you're doing here, and bringing community together through the program and telling stories that are important that people understand and hear.
I go back to Minnesotans for Major League Baseball, and that probably is where we met for the first time. Mm-hmm. And I had the opportunity to go around to a couple of other communities before Target Field was built. We went to Houston, we went to Pittsburgh. Mm-hmm. and I see a ballpark now that beats everybody by comparison. It's fit in a small location, but it's a beautiful ballpark.
Yeah, I appreciate you saying that, Alan. Again, 15 years in, I feel the same way about Target Field. I think aesthetically, it's more beautiful than almost any other ballpark. And I think that the experience there that's delivered game after game is top shelf. That doesn't mean there aren't things that we can figure out ways to do better, and we're always thinking about it.
Well, there are always things that you can do better.
Where does technology fit into it? Where does music fit into it? Where does entertainment fit into it? Where does capital improvements fit into it? And those are all things that we're working on behind the scenes.
Do you have any big plans that you can discuss with us for the future?
No, I would just say more in general. I think we think about the fans of the future in terms of what they're looking for, and not, I think there's certainly always going to be a place for great seats behind home plate and wonderful sight lines. But fans tend to, younger people tend to probably be seeking more of a social experience, maybe not necessarily with a fixed seat in a particular part. It might be more of a walking experience. It might be more of a gathering space with friends, or it might be more of a premium experience. And we're thinking about all of those things together.
We lost a great friend and a great Twins fan and a sponsor, as a matter of fact, with the death of Charles Crutchfield last year. And we miss him. We miss him.
Yeah, by all means. Dr. Crutchfield was one of the great baseball fans in our community and such a leader in so many different ways. He was very much a regular at Target Field, and send prayers and love to his family, and I really miss that smiling face of Dr. Crutchfield wearing his jersey and cheering on his beloved Twins.
And time does march on. We have to adjust really to things like that. But the other side of the coin is we have some great young players coming up, and thinking of that, how did Fort Myers fare during the hurricane?
Yeah, well, Fort Myers was pretty beat up, particularly Fort Myers Beach, and the area, south and north of that. So we're now 2 years into the recovery. It's doing better. I'd say we're not back to 100% yet, particularly out in those beach areas. Inland, where our complex is fine. And certainly we saw a really strong spring training with a return of a lot of fans from the upper Midwest coming back to Southwest Florida for the first time since the hurricane. But it's going to take some time for Fort Myers Beach to get back to where it was. It's going to look different. And that's a community that we care a lot about. The Twins have been in Fort Myers, Lee County since 1991. And we're very entrenched in that community. So we're working hard to do our part with the recovery and to support the county and other agencies.
Speaking of being entrenched with the community, actually there were hundreds of people who used the ballpark when their homes were destroyed. Isn't that so?
Yeah, no doubt. Yeah, we've used our complex there, the Lee Health Sports Complex, to house FEMA, to house first responders, to house the National Guard, the World Kitchen, to serve meals out of our complex. We have a huge advantage. We have a player development academy there. That academy can be converted from housing baseball players to housing people who are central to a recovery effort. We've now done that on multiple occasions. And it really is an unbelievable example of how a public-private should work together. And we're really proud of that, and we'll be ready for the next hurricane. We know there will be another one, and we'll be ready to go when necessary.
And people don't necessarily know too much about the Twins Community Fund, which is sponsored by the Pohlad family. And it does so much locally for ballparks for kids and equipment and bats, things like that. Let's give a little shout out for the Community Fund.
By all means. I mean, the Twins Community Fund's been around since 1991. The primary partners and sponsors, not so much the Pohlad family, but our players provide a significant level of funding, which is great. Target, U.S. Bank, Treasure Island, Nike provide funding, and then many, many fans provide funding, either through direct grants or through participating in fundraising events.
Or just by giving donations.
It's a north of a $2 million fund annually now, and those dollars go back into the community, supporting kids and families who have an association with baseball or softball. So a lot of it is youth baseball and softball development. Some of it is certainly education focused. And, we're really, excited and proud of the fact that the community fund continues to grow, that it gives us a chance to really, impact more kids and kind of around this concept of growing the game, which is really something that is very close to the Twins' heart and really a top priority for the baseball team.
You started out as an intern with the Twins, coming from North Dakota. You've been the president now since 2002. Looking into the future, what do you see?
Well, I see a bright future for our organization. I'm working now with the third generation of Pohlads leading the team. I worked for Carl Pohlad, then I worked for Jim Pohlad, now I'm working for Joe Pohlad. And I'm inspired every day by the way Joe views the future for his family. And it's a lot of fun for me to have a chance to sit next to him, provide my perspective and maybe counsel, but also work with him to implement a vision for the future. And that vision excites me. I think Major League Baseball is going to continue to evolve in a lot of positive ways. And I think there's a lot of growth ahead, not just for the Twins, but for our industry, and I want to be part of that.
Did you ever picture when you were an undergraduate at the University of North Dakota that you would be here in 2024 as president of a Major League Baseball team?
No, I would have never allowed my dreams to get that far. And I didn't, I never thought about being in a leadership role with the baseball team. My goal was simply to more broadly craft a career in sports. And along the way, I was tapped on the shoulder and given incremental responsibility. And, I always, kind of knock on wood, I haven't screwed it up too badly yet, but it's been a lot of fun. I feel very blessed. I recognize there's a lot of people that would love to probably trade jobs, and I don't take it for granted. I continue to work hard, continue to stay focused, do everything I can to drive value for the team, drive value for our owners, drive value for our fans.
Dave St. Peter has been a real friend of Access to Democracy, as well as the Minnesota community. As I say, he's been president of the Twins since 2002. He's been here with us probably for 20 years now, at least giving of his time at least once a year. And we certainly welcomed the Twins as a sponsor last year and look forward to that continuing down the road. Do you have any closing thoughts?
No, just one of gratitude. I really appreciate the opportunity to connect with you, Alan, and all the fans who might watch this all over the state. We appreciate the support of Twins baseball. None of our success is possible without fans. And for those fans that get to games, thank you. If some of these fans haven't been to a ball game lately, come on down, check us out. We can deliver a very safe environment, but also one where I think you're going to be excited to cheer on this team as we embark on a new season and try to bring home another division title and hopefully compete for a world championship come October.
Let's hope so. Dave St. Peter, thank you so much.
Thank you, Alan. Always a pleasure.